let me tell you something about the book. So, book is actually divided into these 8 chapters, and these 8 chapters are further divided into 3 sections. There are section 1, section 2, and section 3. And in the first section, we will have 3 chapters. They are the French Revolution, the Russian Revolution, and the Nazism and the rise of Hitler. Whereas the section 2 will include forest society and colonialism, pastoralists in the modern world, or the Chavahe, and the peasants and the farmers. And the section 3, we will have only 2 chapters. They are history of sport and story of cricket, and clothing, that social history, a social history of clothing. It should be clothing. Okay. So moving on, who can actually benefit from this course? So actually every 9th class student, of course they can. And every history lover and further students preparing for various administrative examination, be it SSC, be it UPSC, they can benefit. Then let me tell you something about this National Curriculum Framework of 2005. So this NCERT textbook is actually based on this National Curriculum Framework, and this framework marks a departure from bookish knowledge. Okay, it warns that a child's life at school should be related to his life at home. Okay, life at school should not be something very strict or should not be something very disciplined. Like child may not be himself. Okay, he must not be a bookish boy. Okay, he must have vivid imagination. Okay, and vivid thinking. So this is what our National Curriculum Framework of 2005 states, and the book is based on this. So this journey is going to be very nice. Okay? And next thing is National Policy on Education, that is 1986. So this is also child-centered system of education. Okay, it is also stated in National Policy on Education, that is in 1986. Okay, so this book is actually based on these 2 things. So moving on, when I read for the book, the first page of the book explains something about our national flags. Of course, I wish to tell you all about it, and so I've included about it here. So Indian national flag is a symbol of land and people of India. 3 rectangular panel or sub-panels of equal width are present. The top panel is Indian saffron, and that of bottom is Indian green. The middle is white, wearing Ashok Chakra with 24 spokes. So it is in knowledge of all of you. The next is the chakra is visible on both sides of the flag, and the flag is rectangular with ratio of length to height, that is 3:2. Important, you must remember. Dr. S. Radhakrishnan explained about our national flag in the Constituent Assembly, which adopted it, of course, in 1950. The bhagwan or saffron color denotes the renunciation or disinterestedness. The white color denotes truth. The green shows our relation to soil, the plant life. Okay? And the Ashoka wheel is a wheel of law or dharma. Again, the wheel denotes motion, the development. Okay? There is no restriction on the display of national flag with dignity as under the Flag Code of India. So our Flag Code of India states that everyone, be it any student, be it any worker, can display this national flag at any place, on a building or somewhere, and with dignity. Okay, this is the condition. You must show dignity to this flag, and it is stated in the Flag Code of India. So something more about it. It shall be flown from sunrise to sunset, means not in night time. Although you can flow it in night only in case of special occasion. If at all special occasion arise, you can flow the national flag of India at night also. Then it may be flown in any day, including Sundays and other holidays, irrespective of weather condition. Okay, must not be used as drapery in any form. You cannot form pillow out of it. You cannot form chadar out of it. Okay, takiya chadar nahi bana sakte isse. Except in state, military or paramilitary center post funeral. So whenever our jawans or our heroes, they are the army personals, they die. So the flag is used as a drapery for them. So only for those people, not for any other. Okay, and it is illegal. You could be sent to jail also. So flag must not be lowered in grave or burned in fire. Okay, not lowered in grave, neither burned in the funeral pyre. If damaged, so what to do if a flag is damaged? It should be destroyed by burning. Okay, it should be burned. It could be used as costumes. Okay, could be used as costume, but not under the waist. Okay, or cushions or napkins. You cannot make a hanky out of this national flag. Okay, it must not be flown from a single masthead simultaneously with any other flag. Okay, so one masthead should contain only one flag. Okay, no single masthead should not contain more than one flag. And in case of Indian flag, it is not. Okay, there must be separate masthead for different flags. Of course, there should be. And when a foreign dignitary travels in a car provided by our Indian government, the national flag is flown on the right side of the car, and the flag of foreign country on the left side of the car. Okay. In case of death of president, या vice president, या फिर prime minister, the flag must be half-masted throughout the country. So these are some of the rules of our flag. So actually they were there in the NCERT first page. So I just included it here so that you can also know about it. Then the first chapter, that is the revolution that took place in France, that will be included in the coming up lessons. So be tuned, and if you like it, please rate, review, and recommend. Hereby. So the French Revolution. So the French, it was actually a monarch during 1789. So what is a monarch? Monarch is a form of government in which the king used to rule. So the important name you must remember here is the Louis XVI, who was the king of France at that time. So one morning, on the morning of 14 July 1789, remember this date, very important date in the history of France, 1789, the city of Paris was in a state of alarm. So just imagine, one morning you just get up and there is alarm in the city. So what had happened, since the king had commanded troops to move in the city, rumors had it that the army will soon open fire on the pupils. So there was a rumor that spread that army will soon open fire on the pupils, and so the people were in the state of alarm. So what they do, the man and the woman, some 7,000 men and women, they gathered in front of the town hall that is in London, that is in France, and decided to form a pupils militia. Okay, so they decided, yes, we will form one pupils militia to fight the troops that were moving on the order of king. People decided to fight against that king, that is Louis XVI. So these people, they broke into a number of government buildings in search of arms. Okay, they stormed the fortress prison, the Bastille. So the storming of Bastille is very, very important episode in the history of France, that is French Revolution. Okay, so these people, they stormed the fortress prison, that is Bastille, and where they hoped to find ammunition. So in search of ammunition, they stormed this Bastille. And in the armed fight, the commander of Bastille was killed and 7 prisoners that were present in the prison were released. Okay, the fortress, that is the Bastille, was demolished and its stone fragment was sold in the market, and rioting continued in Paris. Okay, this was the beginning of a chain of events which ultimately led to the execution of the king in France. Okay, then at the later stage we will see how Jacobin's government is coming and how this king is replaced and it's executed. Okay, so moving on, in 1774, Louis XVI of the Bourbon family of kings ascended the throne of France. Okay, he was just 20 years old and was married to Austrian princess Marie Antoinette. And upon his accession, he found an empty treasury. Okay, when he became king, he found that no money is there, empty treasury is there, because of long years of war that had drained the financial resources of France. Okay, long year of war, they supported the cause of Americans. Okay, they fought for the Americans, so their treasury was empty. Okay. Under Louis XVI, France has helped the 13 American colony to gain their independence from the common enemy, that is Britain. Okay, so this Louis XVI, he had actually helped the American colony, that is 13 South American colonies, to gain their independence from Britain. Okay, the war added more than billion livers to the debt that had already risen to more than 2 billion livers. So what happened? This Louis XVI, he used to take a debt from the various private companies or such peoples, and that debt reached up to 2 billion livers, and war also added 1 billion liver to that debt. Okay, so what is this liver? Liver is actually a form of money. So liver was a unit of currency in France which was discontinued in 1794. So this currency was discontinued later, but initially it was the currency of France. Okay, so debt was increasing. Okay, initially it was 2 million and now it is more than 3 million. Sorry, billions. So such and such debt was increasing. So what is Louis XVI? He need something to balance this debt. Okay, lender who gave straight credit now begin to charge 10% interest on the loans. Okay, the lenders who have given the loan to Louis XVI. So who are these lenders? They are the persons who are the rich persons who have given the loan to the king, to the state or the king or the government. One thing only, state or the king or the government. So these lenders, they have given the loan to the state. Now they credit and now begin to charge 10% interest on the loans. Okay. They increased the interest on the loan to meet its regular demands such as cost of maintaining army, the court, the running of government or university. State was forced to increase taxes. Okay, now this government, this Louis XVI, he need to run the government. और उसके सर पे इतना बड़ा बोझ आ गया है डेप्थ का, okay, जो कि उसे लेंडर को पे करना है. So what he did, he started increasing the taxes from the people. Okay, the French society at that time was divided into 3 estates. Okay, the French society was actually divided into 3 estates, and only the member of third estate had to pay taxes. We will understand it here. So the French society was divided into 3 estates. The first estate, that is clergy, the second estate, that is the nobility, and the third estate, and it included big businessmen, merchants, court officials, lawyers, peasants, artisans, small peasants, landless labor, and the servants. They all were included in the third estate. So only this third estate need to pay taxes. This clergy and nobility are excluded from paying taxes. So now, because of the debt, this Louis XVI, he started increasing the taxes on this third estate. So सारा वजन third estate के ऊपर आ गया. Now, this society of estate was part of feudal system dated back to the Middle Ages, of course, and the old regime is the term used to describe the society and institution of France before 1789. Peasants make 90% of the population, but 60% of the land was owned by nobles, clerks, and richer member of the third estate. Okay, the member of the first two estate were exempted from paying taxes. Okay, by birth. Okay, you are nobles or you are clergymen, you don't need to pay the tax. Only and only the third estate people, the poor peasants, the businessmen, they need to pay the taxes. Even the church extracted their share of taxes called the tithes from the peasant. So these tithes are the taxes which people used to give to the church people. Okay, all member of third estate had to pay taxes to the state. These included a direct tax that was known as taille and a number of indirect tax which were levied on articles of everyday consumption. Okay, population of France went up to 20 million in 1789. Wages did not keep pace with the price rise. Gap between rich and poor widened. Okay, the condition was becoming worse. Okay, this led to subsistence crisis. So what is the subsistence crisis? In economy you might be studying. So subsistence crisis is an extreme condition where the basic means of livelihood are endangered. Even the food, even the clothing, even the shelter, they are endangered. Okay, that is known as subsistence crisis. So what happened? A social group of middle class emerged who believed that no group in society should be privileged by birth. They used to believe, oh, these clergy are not paying taxes. Oh, they also should pay taxes. They are not privileged by birth. Okay, so philosophers like John Locke and Jean Jacques Rousseau, they emerged. Okay, and in his two treatises of agreement, Locke, this is Locke, that is John Locke, he wrote a book that is Two Treatises of Government, and he sought to refute the doctrine of divine and absolute right of monarch. Okay, and then another was this Montesquieu. So Montesquieu wrote a book that is Spirit of the Laws, in which he had proposed a division of power within the government between the legislative, the executive, and the judiciary. Okay, so this was the division of power between legislative, executive, and judiciary was the brainchild of this Montesquieu. Okay, and this order was put forward in USA. It was going on in USA. So this was the starting. You have seen the storming of the prison, that is Bastille, and you have seen the power division into the 3 estates. Okay, the further story will continue, and what will be the story? So important events are given here. So in 1774, Louis XVI became the king of France. In 1789, convocation of estates general will happen, and in 1791, constitution will be framed by this lower estate, the third estate, and in 1792, France became Jacobin Republic. King is beheaded. King will be beheaded, and France will become republic. But in later 1804, Napoleon will become the emperor of France, and further in 1815, Napoleon will be defeated at Battle of Waterloo, and then after that, France will become a republic later on. So this was it for the lesson. The lesson will continue and we will see the outbreak of revolution. Now you look that the third estate is in problem. Okay, they need to pay all the taxes. So how will they recover out of it? How will they do the revolution? That we will study in the next lessons. Okay, thank you, and please rate, review, and recommend it. Okay. Hello friends, welcome to Unacademy, and this is the next lesson in the series, and the name of the series is India and the Contemporary World, and in this we are going to study the 9th class NCERT of History full, and this is presented to you by me. I'm here Shreya, and I'm doing my graduation from Shri Guru Tej Bahadur Khalsa College of Delhi University. And the French Revolution, the first chapter, something I already told you about this, about Louis XVI and how he imposed the taxes on the third estate or the poor pupils. And now we will move forward and we will see how those poor people, they come out of that, how they draft a constitution for themselves, how and at last they execute the king. Okay. So the outbreak of revolution. So you already know the French society was divided into 3 estates. That is the first estate, that is clergy, the second estate is nobility, and the third estate, that is the businessmen and the merchants. So now you know that Louis XVI need to increase taxes. But in old regime, that is the period that was before 1789, the monarch or the king, they did not have the power to impose taxes according to his own will. Rather, he has to call a meeting of estates general. Okay, he can't impose a bill or any law on the pupil himself. He has to call a meeting of these estates general. Who are the estates general? Estates general are the pupil who represent each estate. That is the first estate, the second estate, and the third estate. So the estates general was the political body to which 3 estates sent their representative. All the 3 estates were represented in this estates general. So however, monarch alone can decide when to call a meeting of this body. Monarch or the king, he will decide when I have to call the meeting. And the last time this meeting was called was in 1614. Okay, very much before. Okay. So on May 1789, what this Louis XVI, the king, did, he called together an assembly of the estates general to pass proposals for new taxes. Okay, now he wanted new taxes to be imposed because he found empty treasury. So he called all the estates general and he called their meeting. Okay. On May 1789, Louis called their meeting. The first and the second estate sent 300 representatives each, who were seated in rows facing each other on two sides, while the third estate sent 600 members. The 600 member of the third estate had to stand at the back. Okay, they thought, no problem, we will stand at the back. The third estate was represented by more educated and prosperous members of the third estate. Actually, the third estate include very uneducated people also, but educated people from the third estates came here to represent as the estate general. Okay. And the women were denied to the assembly. Women were not allowed in the assembly. Grievances and demands of third estate were listed in some 40,000 letters. So many people might have written these letters, and these letters were given to the estates general of third estate, and they brought these letters to the assembly. Okay. So voting in estate general in past was conducted as one vote for each estate. Means 3 estates are there, and each estate will give one vote. But this time the third estate demanded voting to be held by assembly as a whole, where each member would have one vote. So now they wanted each member should have one vote. Earlier only 3 votes were there. Okay. One vote of nobility as a whole, one vote of clergy as a whole. But now they demanded each member to have one vote. Moving on, these democratic policies were brought forward by philosophers like Rousseau in his book The Social Contract. So this was a book written by this person, Rousseau. So the king rejected this proposal. So of course the third estate people, they are 600 in number and they will win. So the king rejected this proposal. The leader of third estate began seeing themselves as spokesmen of whole French nation. So now the sentiments of this third estate is hurt. So they thought of revolting some way. So what they did, on 20th June, they assembled in the court in the ground of Versailles. They declared themselves as the General Assembly and swore not to disperse till they make a constitution of France. So they decided, yes, we will now make a constitution of France, and king will no longer be the ruler, and that would limit the power of the monarch. To limit the power of the monarch, they decided to frame a constitution. They were led by Mirabeau and Agassiz. Okay, this is the name of 2 persons. Okay, the president of assembly was Bailly. Okay, while the National Assembly was busy at Versailles, drafting a constitution, what happened in the rest of the France? The rest of the France see a turmoil, inflation, price rise. These all took place in the France. So on 14th July, crowd stormed and destroyed the Bastille, that is the fortress prison. And I already told you the story of this Bastille or the fortress prison, or the incident of 14th July 1789 in my previous lesson. So go through it. So what happened? Another rumor spread that the Maynard had hired bigots who will destroy the ripe crops, so the people attacked Chateaux also. So who is the Chateaux? He's a state residence belonging to a king. Okay, so these were all the protests which were going on, and they were all led by the people of the third estate. Okay, so faced with the powers of subject, the king finally recognized the National Assembly. King now had to give the power to the National Assembly and accepted that his powers will now be checked by a constitution. So absolute monarchy is now buried under the soil, and a new system came about. So on the night of 4th August, what happened? All these things happened. Assembly passed a decree abolishing the feudal system of obligations and taxes. Members of clergy were forced to give up their privileges. Tithes were abolished, and the land owned by church were confiscated. So this was the tax. Tithes was the tax that was imposed on the people of third estate by the church. So that tax was also abolished. As a result, government acquired assets worth at least 2 billion livres. So all this gave money to the government, and thus the money of government, or the asset of government, was increased to 2 billion livres. So livre was the currency of France. The National Assembly completed the drafting of constitution in 1791. Its main objective was to limit the powers of monarch. Okay, to limit the powers of the king. Legislative, executive, and judiciary, these 3 things were made, and thus France became a constitutional monarchy. Constitution is also present and monarchy is also present. Now something about this constitution, what was it actually? So there were some members, those were known as passive citizens. Who were these passive citizens? So they were citizens who have no voting rights at all. So about 3 million men who were not educated or who did not own some property, they were denied votes, and they were known as passive citizens. And all the women, they are also passive citizens, and the children below the age of 25 were also passive citizens. Now what is the second category? That is the active citizens. So active citizens were the ones who were entitled to vote. They can vote. So about 4 million of a population of 28 million. So 28 million was the total population of France. And those that can vote, all the active citizens, were only 4 million. Okay. So now this active citizens, they vote and they first elect electors. Okay. Then these electors further elect the members of National Assembly. Now this National Assembly controls the ministers who are a part of executive. Then one king is present because it is a constitutional monarchy. So king can every time have a veto power on this National Assembly, and National Assembly keeps a check on the king. So there was a juxtaposition between the king and the National Assembly, and this National Assembly always keeps check on these ministers also. That was a part of executive. Now let's see something about judiciary. So judiciary was directly elected by the active citizens by voting. Okay. Also moving on, the Constitution of 1791 vested the power to make laws in the National Assembly, which was indirectly elected. How it was elected, I already told you. The citizens voted for a group of electors. Firstly, citizens will elect electors, okay, who in turn choose the assembly. Now, these electors, who are themselves elected by the citizens, they will elect the assembly members. Not all citizens had the right to vote. Only the men of the 25 years of age who paid taxes equal to at least 3 days of a labor wage were given the status of active citizen, and they were entitled to vote. No other citizen could vote. The remaining men and all the women were known as passive citizens. They cannot vote. Now, to qualify as an elector and then as a member of assembly, a man has to belong to the highest bracket of taxpayer. Okay, he need to pay tax equal to at least 3 days of a labor's wage. Okay, the constitution began with the rights of men, just as our constitution began with preamble. Their constitution began with the rights of men. Okay, all were not happy. You see, many people, they are denied voting rights, so all were not at all happy. A revolutionary, Jean-Paul Marat, commented in his newspaper that the rich are bestowed within the law. The task of representing people is already given to the rich people. So this was it. In the next module, we will see how France becomes complete republic. Complete republic means they will execute the king will be killed, and absolute monarchy will be abolished completely. But before moving on that, let me tell you something about these symbols. So very first one, this is the bundle of rods or the faces. So one rod can be easily broken, but not an entire bundle. So this shows the strength, unity in many. When a group of many is there, it will show unity. Okay. The next thing, this is a law tablet. So law is the same for all, and all are equal before it. So this tablet symbolizes that. And this lady, she is wearing blue, white, and red. And blue, white, and red are the national colors of France. Then this is the cap, the red Phrygian cap. That is a cap which was worn by the slave upon becoming free. When the slave become free, they wear this cap. Okay. And now this, what is this? This is a snake biting its tail to form a ring. It is a symbol of eternity. Okay. The ring, neither it has any starting, neither do it have any end. So it shows eternity. Then this is the open chains or broken chain. It was used to the chains were used to fetter the slaves. So the open chain show the act of becoming free. And then this thing, this is scepter. That is symbol of royal power. So why why these symbols were actually included in the constitution, because every person is not at all educated, every person do not know how to read and how to write, so these type of symbols were included in the constitution for those people who are not educated. Okay, so moving on, something more, this is the lawgiver woman. Okay, she was the personification of law. Okay, the winged woman. Okay, personification of law. And here you can see this winged woman who is the personification of law, and this is another woman which shows the blue, white, red. That is the national color of France, and this is the rights of man declaration, just like our preamble. Okay, and this is actually a painting. And this was it for this lesson. Further, we will see how the king was executed and the France then becomes a republic. And then in further lessons, we will see the arrival of Napoleon Bonaparte and the conclusion. And this was it for this lesson. If you like it, please rate, review, and recommend it to your friends.